I was asked to speak today, and we sort of were in a position where originally we weren't doing too much PR. We haven't sort of stood up to sort of tell too many people, what we're doing, because we're kind of not quite there yet. And although it's been sort of a 9-year journey, we are, like any startup, basically, at the next precipice to cross. And we think that our technology certainly can make a dent, and certainly in food waste, and more importantly, in our soil issue around the world. So I just wanted to talk first and foremost about sort of where I came from, because I sort of came from what I call a purposeless life to a more purposeful life. And I started my first company in 1997 at the age of 21. It was with a second-hand computer. We had no money and $50. And our first order was shipped on the back of a car trailer from my sister's house, and my sister's here today. And that's where we started. It was for $30,000 worth of nuts and bolts for BHP in Indonesia, and that's where we started. And over the years, this was my life up here. This is a bit of a timeline of sort of 18 odd years of building the company from nothing to be, a very reputable mining and industrial supplier, supplying some of the biggest mining companies in the world. In that, it allowed me to travel and to see, many aspects of the world, from, living in 5-star hotels to kind of being in the jungles of Irian Jaya. And what I realised was that, I was kind of living a life of extraction and not a life of regeneration. And in life, I think we need both. We need, extractive type businesses, because at the end of the day, we need minerals, we need materials, we need things to make things. But what I kind of realised was I had my own sort of crisis of consciousness, and you can see this gentleman sort of on the screen here. And a little quick story was I was sitting in one of the biggest mines in the world. They turn over $4 billion a year in Indonesia. 20,000 people work on the site, and I was sitting in a restaurant there having lunch with one of the senior management, and one of these Irian Jaya indigenous people walked through the door, and it was like he'd just stepped out of a time machine. He had his bow and arrow, it still had blood all over it, and he looked around, and we were sitting there. I looked at him, and I was quite stunned, and you could sort of see him, and then he saw this sort of chair in the corner over there, the takeaway chair that people sit to get their takeaway, so he sort of moved over there and he sat down with his bow and arrow. And I was looking at him, and everyone's sort of in a bit of chaos, and the Indonesian waiters sort of, rushed over there to try and get him out because it's not a good look. So he was obviously hungry. He'd come trekking across the glacier, and, he'd smelt the food. He'd come to the restaurant. And, they gave him some food and they ushered him outside. And that was one of the pivotal moments of my life where I had this sort of crisis of consciousness around what I was doing, what I was creating. And, I was watching this mine pollute, the rivers and the tailings dams and the villages. And I realised that, at some point, in this last 18 years of all these things that I had been observing, that, we were going to enter a revolution of kind of recycling, because we couldn't keep going the way we were going. And I decided that, what was I going to do? And another pivotal moment was kind of, one of my clients that we'd supplying engine coolants to, so we'd beaten sort of BP and Caltex and biggest companies to get this engine coolant contract for 400 of the biggest dump trucks in the world. But unfortunately, they were sort of ripping down a 160 million year old rainforest. And if you've ever seen what 400 dump trucks can do in a day in terms of clearing land, it's quite significant. My product at that stage still was environmental. It was biodegradable. It was, readily biodegradable, environmentally friendly. But I just couldn't make that truck environmental. So I decided that I really needed to change, and I needed to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And I really I couldn't get up in the morning. I couldn't go to work anymore, and as a very sort of motivated person, I knew something was wrong. And I sort of wasn't still listening, and I sort of started to progress in that direction. But obviously, the universe, the divine, whatever you think, God, whatever you call it, sort of had a different plan for me. And so I had a near-death experience where I went in for a routine operation, and they punctured my bowel, and I had 24 hours of whether I was going to kind of live or die. And I saw my sort of spirit come out of my body, and I for sort of 8 hours I was meditating, and I could look down on the hospital on the hospital bed and my body being in that. And I knew that I had a choice as to whether I was going to come back or not. And then, later on, I was also diagnosed with, stage 3 bowel cancer. And through that journey, I realised that, the importance of food. And I went on a healing journey, and I went on a journey of kind of, as sort of Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. I really learned what that actually meant. And I healed my body through natural foods. I didn't take chemotherapy, I didn't take any chemicals. And I truly believed, as I sort of researched for quite a number of years, that we are really messing up our food systems. So I want to share a little bit about what we're doing today, and lots of people ask us what we're doing, and the best thing I can do is sort of play this video, and hopefully that sort of explains two problems. One is that, obviously the recycling aspect of food is a big one in terms of the environmental damage, but the bigger problem that we're really facing as a society is our soils and the degradation rate of our soils. So the United Nations says we've basically got 60 harvests left before our soils are gone, which means we've got 60 years before our food's gone in terms of what we grow on land. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of information about sort of, the problem we're trying to tackle, the biotechnology that we have, that we've sort of been developing for 9+ years now. And we're ready to sort of bring this to market in 2024. And, we're looking now for the right strategic partner. I've invested quite a few $1 million into this business. And now we need the right values-based partner with deep enough pockets to take us to the next stage. And as I said, as a startup, we're crossing the next precipice of our sort of evolution.
Every day is a unique opportunity to make a better choice. We can create a different future. It doesn't have to end up like this. That's why we're on a mission to help feed the world and heal our soils. And our mission starts right within your own home. Here at Sustainable Food at Home, we are designing both smart and sustainable food recycling and food growing solutions and bringing them to the world. Products that will help to solve the massive food and soil related problems that we face as humanity. Our technology will aid to help reverse these destructive cycles, regenerating and returning critical carbon, nutrients, and life back to our soils. Doing this will help regulate and prevent the planet's temperature from rising more than 2 degrees in the future, which is necessary if we are to protect life on our planet. Currently, per year, 7.6 million tons of food is wasted in Australia, worth over $8 billion. And 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted globally, worth over $940 billion. But the true social cost to society is valued at over $12 trillion. Did you know up to 40% of the waste in the average household bin is food? Food waste also contaminates most of the other waste streams, like recycled plastics, making millions of tons per year of plastics unrecyclable, ending them up in landfill. Introducing Revive, an advanced high-speed food recycling machine that makes home composting easy. No more food waste to landfill, no more smells, no more flies or vermin, no more yuck. It works by automatically controlling the composting environment right within the machine, and by using our unique formula of naturally derived soil organisms known as microbes. It breaks down the food waste placed inside the machine by up to 90%. all within an amazing 24-hour period. It takes all kind of food waste, from fruit and veggies, meats, eggshells, pasta, and breads. Our Revive machine can process an impressive 3 to 4 kilograms of waste per day, which equates to over 1,000 kilograms of food waste per year for just one household. The final 10% is automatically ejected out of the machine in the form of a nutrient-rich fertilizer to be used on your own existing gardens, or you can also share it with your community using our Revive smartphone app. Or better still, stop the waste from leaving your back door by using the fertilizer in our Grow at Home gardens. Introducing Grow at Home. Made from sustainable materials, including post-consumer recycled plastics, our self-watering, self-contained gardens allow you to grow your own healthy, nutritious food all year round. The modular design allows you to expand your capacity to grow even more food, flexible enough to use in any application, from apartment balconies to backyards to even schools or businesses. Our gardens are also mobile, so you can move them around within your home or even from house to house if you need to. Zero waste just became a reality with sustainable food at home. Help us create the future we all want to live in. Join us, partner with us, or even become an investor in us. It's time we all act.
So what I learnt sort of also on this sort of journey, and a lot of people also, just before I get to that point, was, what's the difference in your technology to other things that are coming? And I just want to sort of talk about that very quickly. The microbe technology is really the at the forefront of it. It took over 10 years to develop. It's soil organisms, basically. It's a unique blend of soil organisms out of the soil. It runs through a fermentation process to grow the actual microbes, and they are really the secret sauce. The difference is a lot of products that are coming to the market are simply dehydrators. Most of them are dehydrators, and they're just dehydrating the food waste. And we're applying that to soil. It's not compost. It causes all sorts of problems like nitrogen drawdown on plants, affecting plant growth and plant yields. So, there's over 1 billion organisms in a teaspoon of soil. We've isolated over 7 of them in the technology that we have that do this rapid composting. And the difference is that, in our technology, the product that's coming out is actually in its decomposed phase. The decomposition process has started. It is an early stage compost. It's not just a dried food waste. And therefore, its application to blend with other products like soil and use it as a means by which to, get organics back on our soils and start repairing our soils from a regenerative point of view, as well as using it obviously to grow more food locally. What I also learned, as I said, was, that in my journey, I realised you can't sort of build a sustainable business until you build a sustainable life first. And, everything that I went through sort of, gave me this real clear understanding about, you have to have your life in balance. You can't be working 80 hours a week. You can't be, travelling, and you can't be away. And at the end of the day, what we really want, I think, as human beings is fulfillment. And, COVID, did, many things to many of us. For me, it allowed me to also take on another contribution role in helping other companies, of how can they transition to be more purposeful? How can they transition to be more green? Because I came from not being green. So, I think it was mentioned by Cam, that, I've probably got a karmic, debt to pay back given, what I've been doing. And everybody can change. It's just a mindset shift. And at Purpose-Driven Coaching, I've been able to now help other business owners who want to transition, want to live a sustainable life. I'm lucky enough to work with, 9-star sustainable, builder and building modular homes for affordable homes to local, advanced manufacturing business here in Noosa. And I'm very humbled that I get to help them on their journey as well. And through the Architecture of Sustainable Business is a system that I've developed over the last 20 years that basically aids all the key elements. You can't have a sustainable business until you have a sustainable life. Your business can't be sustainable if you don't have a sustainable lead flow. Your business is not sustainable if you don't have a sustainable culture. Your business is not sustainable until you have a sustainable profits. Because at the end of the day, if the business doesn't survive, we can't do our mission anyway. So finally, I just wanted to leave on a note to say to you, so what would a sustainable life, filled with purpose look for any one of you? Thank you. My name's Cliff Benz. If you want to learn any more about the technology, I will be around for the next sort of hour or so as well. So thank you.